Jill?
I'm ready.
All right, you are number 3. We're going to turn that one on too. All right, here we go. Hello and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness, and I'm your host, Marty Jalove. I come at you every single Monday night to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any of today's episodes, you can always tune in later in the week or later in the month or later in the year, whenever you want to. Tune into Bacon Bits with Master Happiness anywhere you listen to podcasts. As you know, I'm always on a quest to bring you some of the industry best, some really interesting guests. And today, this is amazing. I haven't had you on the show in quite some time. This is the wonderful Lady J. Hello, Lady J.
Hello there. I know. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah. So I got to first come up with who came up with the moniker Lady J for you.
I think it was on my email or something years ago. It was, it was just it wasn't anything to do with Lady Di or Lady anything.
All right.
It's like
it's just the accent. It just seems to fit
with the Lady J, and I just kept it.
I love it. I love it. All right, excellent. So today is an interesting episode. I want to talk about something. I do a lot of coaching. When I do some sales coaching and business coaching, this comes up all the time. I want to talk about the two voices in our heads. All right. Now, a lot of people are going to say that they have more than two voices. I'm going to narrow it down to 2. All right. And as you see, Jill, as we go through this, I'm going to explain that, we actually have probably more voices. And I'm going to pick your brain a little bit, literally, to see how many voices are in there.
I actually Googled voices in your head, and then I got somebody come up saying, do you need help? Is there anything I can do for you?
Excellent.
So I'm good.
Excellent.
I'm good.
All right. Nice. All right. So one of the things is we're going to break it down between 2. We're going to narrow it down to what I'm going to call is the critic, all right, and the cheerleader. The critic and the cheerleader, the voice in your head that is knocking you down, is telling you you can't make it, you can't succeed. Right. It's that one that's wrapped in imposter syndrome, saying, oh my God, what am I doing? Who thought I could possibly do this? And then the cheerleader pushing you onward, ever forward, saying, yes, you can succeed. Just give it one more shot. Right. I'm always reminded with the cheerleader of the Rocky Balboa. You've seen the movie Rocky, right?
A long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. I think it's on. They ran out of Rocky 8 and then they went to Creed and Creed 16 or whatever. But the biggest thing was it wasn't so much where he talked about it wasn't how many times you got knocked down. It's how many times you get back up. And that's that inner cheerleader, that voice inside you that is pushing you onward, forward, making you stronger. And so before I get into this, Jill, I want to kind of tell you this idea in my head. It's or the voices in my head. The best I can connect it to is really when I started doing public speaking, and I was part of Toastmasters. And then even beyond that, after I had won some competitions there, and then I started getting paid as a public speaker at these large events, what would happen, I would tell people, and they're like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And even probably the first year of me doing the radio show, before I would turn on the mic, before I would say go live, there was a voice inside my head saying, get out of here, leave, quit.
Really?
Don't do this. You can't do this. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you're fooling? Everyone knows you can't do this. This really strong negative voice in my head, right? And it takes a lot to hear that and not just walk away, right? And so I had to keep trying to arm myself with a positive voice, that voice of saying, yes, you can do this. Come on, look around. These people have done this. If that person can do it, I can do this. And I try to always keep that attitude of, if one person can do something, that means that if that's the case, then maybe why can't I do it? And that's that inner cheerleader. That's that kind of the loose mantra I use, is if one can do it, and why isn't that other person me? Okay.
Right.
Because I constantly, every once in a while, when I try something new, that little negative voice pops up in my head. So I want to give it to you, Jill. Tell me a little bit. Do you have what voices are rattling around in that head of yours?
Depends on the day, really. It depends on the hour. But I think mostly positive.
Okay.
And if I'm feeling down or I'm negative, I try and say, come on, you can do this. Or, I think on one of your shows, it said these down periods don't last forever. So wait a while and it will change. So do something else, and if I'm not in a good mood, I'll do something, I'll go for a walk, or I'll do some work in the yard. Something I know, or I'll paint, because I'm always painting.
Okay, nice.
But it'll make me in a better. My brush is still wrapped. I'll be over. No, right. But I'll talk and say you can do this. Why not? Why would you not be able to do it?
Right. Well, I think here's the thing: is that fear is such a strong demotivator. All right, fear, procrastination allow you to just walk away and say, I don't have to do it. Okay, I did this idea that I wrote an article a while ago called Hula Hoop, the Great Fad. Okay, F-A-D. And the idea behind it was I remember being a kid wanting so bad to do the hula hoop, right? And I just couldn't. As a chubby little boy, I just couldn't master it, right? And I'd see all the girls in the neighborhood walking around spinning that hula hoop with like grace, like no effort, right? And it just drove me crazy. And I used to practice in my backyard with my sister's hula hoop, just couldn't do it, right? And so fad, F-A-D, was the thing that came to me, and that's why I like the hula hoop, because hula hoop was a fad that went in and out. But this idea of fear, ability, and desire, that's F-A-D, fear, ability, and desire. And that's the thing that stops us from doing so many things. This is that inner voice keeps telling us this whole idea of going, no, you're really not afraid. You don't have the fear. You just can't do this. You don't have the ability to do this. You're not tall enough. You're not strong enough. You don't have that. And then it says, and besides, you don't have the desire to do this. You never really wanted to do this. And so it's really important for us, I think, to ignore that little voice and ask ourselves straight out, the reason I'm not doing this, or the reason I'm hesitating, is it because of fear? Okay. Is it because I truly don't have the ability to do it? Or is it because I don't really have the desire to do that?
Or is it a fear of being judged?
Well, certainly. Yeah. It's whatever that fear is. I'm afraid of this. And that fear, you're absolutely right, comes a lot from this idea of I'm either beating myself up, I'm afraid someone else is going to judge me, or I'm comparing myself.
I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as these people that do this.
So I always say to myself is something like the idea of skydiving. Okay. Skydiving. Have you ever done skydiving?
No, I actually thought about it at one point. But my kids would not be happy. They weren't happy that I was thinking about it.
But not even thinking about it. But it's your life. So, why, what stops you? What really stops you? Is it your kids?
Not completely.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Why jump out of a totally good airplane?
I agree with you. So I'm going to go with this whole idea of going, do I have the ability to jump out of an airplane? Yes, I could do that, right? I could take the lessons and actually do it. So it's not ability. Desire. No, I don't have a desire to do it at all, because I agree with you. Why jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I don't need that thrill. But I'm also going to say it's definitely tied to fear. I don't want to jump out of the airplane. That seems like a long
way.
Yeah. And that moment of stepping out of the airplane seems terrifying to me.
But once you've done that, I think the ride would be worth it, because that's why people do it again and again and again.
Right.
So they say how thrilling it is, and they want to do it again.
Interesting fact here, Jill, is you really don't need a parachute if you want to jump out of an airplane. You only need the parachute if you want to jump out a second time. Right.
Right.
So with this, I'm interested. I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more on this one thing. So you said you don't really believe you have so much of an inner critic. You have more of a cheerleader. Do you ever face situations where you're saying, I really can't do this? What am I doing here? Who am I pretending to be? Do you ever find yourself doing that ever? Or maybe even in your past, have you done that?
Yes, I did the 3-day walk. The cancer was 60 miles. And I got when we hadn't slept all night, there was a tornado warning, and we were running to the, 50-yard line with a sleeping bag and the pouring rain and the whole bit. So nobody slept. And, you get to the next morning and you're exhausted, and you wake up and you're like, you know what? I can't do this. There was a lady in front of me, no hair. She had cancer.
Oh.
She was doing the walk. And my friend and I, we looked at each other and go, okay, if she's doing it, we got to do this. So other people will motivate you.
Definitely. Yeah. You've got to be able to find some type of motivation.
Some type of motivation.
Right. Yeah. I kind of remember this whole thing of years ago, my wife and I, when I first dated Christy, one of the first things we did was this. It was called the 150-mile bike ride. and it was 3 days of bike riding, totaling 150 miles. And so she talked me into this thing. It was very easy because I wanted to date her, so it was really easy to be talked into it.
It's motivation.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember riding each day and even on that bike and just riding and like every pedal, I can't do this. I can't do this. Or you make the turn and you'd see this hill in front of you that looked like a wall.
Right.
And the first thing was that inside going, you're not going to make this. What are you trying? And then slowly forcing yourself to go, okay, just think of 20 feet. Think of the top of the hill. You've got two eyes. Look at 20 feet and look at the top of the hill. You can do this. You can do this. Just 10 more feet. Just 10 more feet.
You can do one step at a time, not visualize the whole thing.
Right.
People said to me, I've never walked that far before. It's like, well, neither have I.
Yeah.
But, I'm just going to give it a go.
Right. Yeah. And the beautiful part about it is there's no shame in trying it, and you can stop at any point and say, this is as far as I can go. Now, going back to stop halfway through.
No.
You can't say, I've changed my mind. Send the airplane for me. Right. All right. So, here's what I want to get into here is, here's a question is for the listeners. What if the voice that you've been fighting has actually been trying to help you all along? That critic.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. That critic inside you and the cheerleader, because we immediately think the cheerleader is always trying to help us. And we think the critic is slowing us down. But what if that voice you're hearing has actually been trying to help you? And so the thought behind it is this, is if we use them instead of being used by those voices, we use the voices, don't let the voices use us. We then take back control. And we understand the critic is the one who's saying, let's be cautious, not cowardice. Let's be cautious. Right. And the cheerleader is saying, let's be courageous, right? Not crazy. All right. And we have to be.
It's a fine line there.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's up to us. And so this, I'm going to jump right into this one thing about when we talked about the two voices. And I said, there's many more, is I think it's really important for us to distance ourselves when we're talking about these voices. And what I mean that is this, you have to kind of almost separate yourself, back away from yourself, right? And you're showing me your notes. Great. So I want you to learn to back away from, really talk to yourself in like the third person. Okay, Marty, which direction are you going to go? Are you going to listen to the critic? Are you going to listen to the destroyer, or are you going to listen to the builder? Okay, Marty, which one? Are you going to listen partially to this one and a little to this? Are you going to be listening to the devil or the angel? Which are you going to listen to? And by doing that, when you think about this, when I'm addressing myself like that and I'm saying, Marty, which one are you going to do? First off, I'm the voice asking the question. I'm talking to Marty, right, who's me, about the other two voices. So right there's 4 voices already in my head going on. But I think it's important because if I sit in the middle and go, which am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to do this or this? You feel a threat. You feel threatened. But when you separate yourself, you can make a judgment there. You can make a cautious decision, a thought out decision. Well, what makes the most sense? Because I'm not making the decision. Marty's making the decision. So I don't even know the name of these other 2 voices. This other guy, the narrator, that's going on in my head. So what is the note you had there, Jill?
Well, it's to separate your inner voice from your identity.
Yeah.
And then, thoughts are not facts. They're just thoughts.
Exactly.
So this says give the voice a name. So if you have this inner voice, it's like, call it Nelly or Ralph or something, but say, hey, you can't tell me what to do.
I want to hear, have you named your voice?
I haven't, but I was studying this today, and it's like, it's a good idea to, like, this inner voice is like, well, maybe it tells you can do it.
Yeah.
Or you can't do it, but it's like, then they need 2 names.
All right. And you know what? This is perfect because my voices, I have names for them, and it's perfect. All right. And this is what I go through all this time is that negative voice. Okay. And it's Bert. It's actually from character Bert Lahr. He's the character that played the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. So I look at that guy. He's the cowardly one who I call Bert. And so every once in a while, when I would walk out on stage to go speak, he used to kind of take over and this whole idea of he would say, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I'd walk out on stage. I could feel my knees shake. I would start to perspire. And then what ended up happening, I would say, hey, Bert, They didn't hire you to speak. They hired Marty.
Right.
So Bert, you're not welcome.
That's not you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now the next one, the flip side is Brett. Sounds like Bert, but it's Brett. And this comes from an old cowboy series called Brett Maverick with James Guys Out There. All right. And so that's the guy I aspire to be. He was like always trying something different, getting in trouble, but always saving the day at the end. Right. And I was like, that's the ultimate hero. He's charismatic and cool. Right. So I said, I want to be Brett. What would Brett Maverick do in this situation versus what would Bert Lahr, the Cowardly Lion, do? And so I agree with you. You've got to name those, because what it does is it truly distances yourself. I'm not the coward, and I'm not necessarily that cool cat, right? I'm in the middle of this, and I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to head into. Okay. Right. So it's really important. So by the end of the show, what I'm going to do, Jill, I'm giving you some homework. By the end of the show, by 8:00, I want you to come up with a name for your that negative Nancy in your head and that positive Paula, or whatever it is inside your head. I want you to think about what you would call them. All right. Now, before we go any further, because we're in the first half, and the second half we're going to attack us with some bacon. You said you had a story to share. Right?
I did.
Yeah, you did. Do you not anymore?
No, I do.
Oh, okay. I would love for you to share it.
I went to, and it was from inspired by one of your shows recently, about employees who are not very well trained to do their job. And I went to a local grocery store, and the person who served me at the checkout did not look at me at all, didn't acknowledge the fact that I was standing there.
Yeah.
And when I said, could you please put all of the cold stuff in one bag? Nothing. It was a slight nod, and it really upset me. And I was angry, and I want to call the manager and talk about this girl, because I've never been irritated like that before.
Right.
And because of your show, when I called the manager and I got through to the manager, and I said, I have a complaint, and he said, is it about a product or a person? I said, it's about an employee.
Yeah.
And I talked to him, and I said, you know what? I said the name, this is what happened, told him what happened, and I said, maybe she needs better training to do customer service. And I have a feeling that she hasn't had that to do a better job. And he said, you know what? I'll put her with a really good sales associate and can give her. But maybe she hasn't been told how to do that job.
Yeah.
Me at all the whole time, and I spent like $140 in.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I love that. I love that story. Right.
And I said, I don't want to attack her, but maybe do that to the next person.
Yeah. I like it a lot. You know what? I love this, because you're absolutely right. That the knee-jerk reaction for most of us.
You shouldn't have her working for you.
What is
She's
that?
awful.
Right. Yeah. And we don't know. I'm so glad you took your time to think this through, because in the long run, maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe it's not her fault. Maybe it is the manager's fault. He put her on the register long before she should have been. Because
maybe she doesn't want a job. Maybe she doesn't want to work, but she needs the money. So she doesn't want to lose her job either.
Correct. And it's not fair to give her the dink, right? And say she did a terrible job, where she might be doing exactly what she was trained to do.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really good. So I'm glad you took control of that inner voice, that angry voice.
Drove home, and it took a while, and I said, you talk to the manager. I thought, you know what? Then that redid my whole phone call.
Yeah.
So.
And how did you feel afterwards?
Better.
Tell me. Yeah.
Better. Much better.
Yeah.
And if I'd attacked her, I would have felt like I'd got rid of some of my anger, but then I would have felt guilty about attacking her.
And the thing is, when people say I would have gotten rid of some of my anger, I don't think you get rid of the anger. I think that just helps bubble it up. It boils more.
Well, so you need somebody to listen when you've gone through that.
Yeah.
What do you need is somebody to listen to you.
Right.
Okay, we'll take care of it. That's, because I used to work customer service.
Yeah.
And some people were yelling at me.
Right.
I'm the only person there.
Right.
Once they'd said something, they were fine.
But I'll tell you, if somebody came, if I went and told the guy, look, you got to get rid of this person. Let's say she was really bad. She used foul language to me, anything like it. You got to get rid of them. And they said, all right, we'll take care of it. Just like that, I would have still been angry. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? No, I'm going to see you take care of it. Like, how are you going to take care of it? What's going to go on? I want to come back the next time, and she shouldn't be here, right? And it's not up to me to make that decision, right? The only decision I can make is, I'm decided I'm not going to shop here anymore.
But the manager said, thank you very much for calling, and thank you for sharing that with me.
Beautiful. And I like it a lot, because I think he follows through with that and gives her better training.
Yeah.
And even the fact that he said, I'm going to team her up with this other sales associate.
Right.
It's kind of like, not that you're going to dig into it more, but I'm wondering, do they actually have sales training set? Do they have an actual program? Or they're like, hey, just
It's checkout.
yeah, just
Off you
right,
go.
right. But in other words, it's
Right.
the checkout is sometimes the only time in a grocery store, right? Or in a department store, sometimes the checkout is sometimes the only time you talk to an employee. Walk in, you pick your own goods, and the only person you talk to is the checkout. So you would think that they would do impeccable training for that person because that might be the only human contact you make,
You
right?
don't talk to the manager.
No, no, no,
No.
of course not. Not on a regular basis.
Mm-mm.
Right. Okay. So getting back to this really quick, once you have these two voices and you name them, understand, think about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Okay. And it's this idea of is one direction better than the other? Is this is too little? This is too much. I got to find that balance in the middle. This is just perfect. Is the porridge too hot or too cold? Just right. So when we're talking about our voices, don't immediately dismiss the critic and don't automatically just follow whatever the cheerleader says. Find that gentle balance between the two. It's to step aside and address yourself as if you're the fourth person. So Marty, what are you going to do? It's from the devil, you got the voice from the angel. Now it's time for you to make a decision because it's easier to talk that way as opposed to saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do sounds threatening. What are you going to do allows me to make a judgment. And it's just a little bit more calming. All right. A little less stress.
Right.
Okay. So we're almost at the bottom of the hour, but what I'd like to do is this. Jill, you know, you've been on the show and you've heard the show before, and you know why we call it Bacon Bits, right?
I do.
All right, because everything Bacon Touch becomes just a little bit better, right?
Correct.
But on this show, you know, we can't talk about bacon in the same way. We kind of use an acronym because on this show we are not talking.
Doing.
Oh, my heart there. The bacon for doing. So we break down the show to 5 little points we're going to make. BACON. And so for this, how do we calm ourselves so we can really regain? How do we calm ourselves so we can pay attention to those inner voices, team them up, and become the better version of ourselves? So the B here is going to stand for breathe. We want to take a moment, breathe. A is going to be acknowledge. In other words, really notice what it is you're fighting. Pay attention to what's going on. C is categorize, or in other words, tag it. All right. O is going to be offset. Balance the voices with its opposite. Find some balance there, and then finally, N is navigate. Now it's time for us to choose the direction we want to go into. So we're going to go step by step, one piece at a time. And let's see. Before we go into there, you got any notes there? I love this, Jill. You got any gems you want to?
Without doing anything, you know?
Yeah. No. No. Do you have anything to add? Because we've got like 2 minutes before we take a little momentary break here. So, you got anything to add, or I'll just keep?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered most of the stuff I've told you a few of them, and most of them about the devil and the angel on your shoulder, and the devil is supposed to be on the left, and all that kind of stuff. So
perfect. So let me ask you this, Jill, before we just take that momentary break. How do you handle when you get that heated? How do you stop yourself and cool yourself down? Because the perfect example, what you just said. The initial reaction was, I'm upset with this person. I want to solve it. And so you went to the manager, and obviously the manager said the things that sounded good to you. But how did you calm yourself and say, this is the better thing for me to say? And the more so, imagine if the manager said something like, you know what, don't worry about it. I'll train my own people. Said something like that. So so how do you gain composure?
Normally just, distance myself from what is bothering me.
Okay.
So I was in the car, I was driving home, windows down, music on. I just sort of breathe. That's what I was doing. Just breathe it out.
Well, don't give away breathe yet. We're going to come back and talk about that in a minute.
Sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes I close the windows and I'm in a remote place and I just scream.
Yeah.
I scream.
Okay.
Screaming, I don't do that very often, but if I'm really upset, boy, does that feel good. But you have to do it when no one's listening.
Yes. Yeah, because it's not worth it, and no one else deserves that.
I don't
from
scream
you.
at people.
Right.
No.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
Right. You know what? I truly believe, I'm going to get into this just momentarily, is I believe that it's important to understand that when we get angry, okay, when we get happy, when we get sad, when we get spooked, we have to say to ourselves, it's we are doing that. I'm getting angry. In other words, you did something, and the way I reacted to it was with anger.
Right.
Okay, whether you were trying to get me angry or not, okay, I have to understand that the way I react with anger, okay, the way I reacted was by being afraid of you, by being saddened by you,
Yes.
okay, or just being delighted.
Or hurt.
Right, right.
And if you hurt somebody else, then they're, they're upset.
Well,
Because
if they have the ability, or they have the way of how are they going to accept it? How are they going to respond to your actions or your words? Okay, because you can't truly say that I have power over other people. I can ruin this person's day. I can make their day, because they still have to be able to say, we don't have that much power over ourselves, let alone over other people. So the first thing we have to understand is, when that cash register person just gave you the blank stare, okay, her goal was not, let me see if I can make this person angry, right?
No.
Her goal was just, I'm just tired of my job. I just want to get done with it today. You chose to get angry in that moment. And then you chose to calm down and talk to the manager. But she did not make you angry. You chose to get angry
Correct.
on that response. You could have just said, oh, well, this is how she is, and checked out and left.
I was just expecting her to say at least hello.
Right. But in other words, what I'm saying is that we have to keep in mind that first off, we have to own our own feelings. And
Okay.
sometimes we go, I can't control myself. Sometimes I sit here and I go, but they made me angry. Look at all these things that they did. And they said, you're right. I can't stop people from doing things. The only thing I can do is hopefully learn to deal with it. And I think you gave a great example of exactly how you dealt with it. So, momentary break, if you don't mind, Jill.
No.
So everyone just still pay attention or stay tuned with us. We're going to be right back after these couple of announcements on some other people who support the show. And we are back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. We're talking about those voices in your head, kind of narrowing it down to 2 voices, although if you're like me, you got about 16 different voices rattling around, arguing, having a great time, partying, and doing all kinds of things they should and shouldn't be doing. Okay. So right now we're talking about the critic and the cheerleader. Could be the devil and the angel. It could be the coward and the courageous one. Okay. And so far, all we did was we kind of talked about a little bit about tagging it and naming those feelings, those voices, and the importance of naming it and stepping away from them is it helps your something else. Those are the voices that are left over from trauma that I ran into. That's a voice of a bully who picked on me in school. That is the voice of the person I saw, like I said, Brett Maverick, the guy I saw on TV that I aspire to be. Whatever it is, understand that we've named them. Those aren't really me. I'm the one in the middle who's still making those decisions. And so, Jill, you made a really good point. You brought up in the little break, you brought up morality, about the angel and the devil here. And so we started talking about this, is that my beliefs, my moral compass, my values might be close to yours, but they might also be different. Where we draw the line is different. Where I draw the line and the things I will do and won't do might be slightly different than where your line is drawn. Right. And this definitely ties back into what we were saying right before the break, is that we have to choose, we choose how we react to the way people come at us. Someone comes at us, upsets us, they do something, if you get upset too quickly, it's because you're taking the bait, right? And you're immediately reflecting something inside you. Okay. You're reflecting your feelings because you don't know if they intentionally were trying to make you upset. You don't know what led them to act that way. So you can either become upset, okay, or learn to deal with it and walk away from it. Looks like you're about to say something brilliant over
No.
there, Phil. No, I'm throwing it back
I'm just
at you.
thinking when I was in the store, how I reacted didn't feel like a choice.
Okay.
To me, it felt like, yes, I was upset, but it didn't feel like I was choosing to be upset.
Yeah, but
I was just upset because of the situation.
Instantly you became upset because the inner critic, that voice, the devil in you, said it's time to get upset, because you could have said, oh, that's too bad. This girl's not having a good time. This is terrible. I wish I had a job that I could hire her where she would work someplace where she'd be happy. You could have easily had that type of thing, an empathetic feeling. You could have had
I was thinking about that before I left the store, that I could have said, I hope you have a better day tomorrow. Or something, but I was just too angry to say anything at all.
Right. And so that's what I mean, is the knee-jerk reaction was anger, but there were plenty of other things. You could have been the person, you could have been a mean person going, ha, you loser. This is what you do for a living. All right. Not that you would have done that, but you could have. Right. But what I'm saying is, it's up to you how you respond to them. Okay. And that's what's so important, is to take a look at that and say, why did I get angry? And you ask yourself, why did your immediate reaction turn into anger? Think about that deep down inside. Why would something so simple as her just being bored with her job, not making eye contact, not caring that you were there, why did that anger you?
I think because I used to be in customer service as a job. And you always had to, it doesn't matter what kind of a day you'd had, you had to treat the customer better than that.
All right. And so let me ask you, so that's how you used to do it, and you were successful at it, and that was good. Right. But why did you get angry because she wasn't doing it? Well, how does that, just because she does it a different way, why did that make you angry?
Expectations.
Okay.
My expectations, probably. I wasn't expecting
No, of course.
her to ignore me because I was,
Yeah.
she was ringing up my groceries, so I thought maybe I'd get hello or something.
Right. All right. And so maybe it's this combination. Think about this. It's that combination. Hey, this is the right way to do it. In my eyes, you're doing it the wrong way. Okay. And how about this? You're like, hello, I'm right here. I'm a human being. Acknowledge me. You're ignoring me. So there are some things that people say, yeah, I would have gotten angry too. That's okay. But that's your choice. Okay. I sometimes, and I'm human. I get angry sometimes, but I might look at her and go, hey, it looks like you're not smiling. You need to smile today. Why don't you take one of mine? Just like that.
I know, but that's who you are.
Right.
That's your Mr. Happiness.
But I also like doing that because that probably that girl would have looked at me and rolled her eyes.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
But it might have cheered her up.
You never know. Okay. And so it's a matter of.
I will keep that in mind.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Right.
But so what I'm getting at is it's how you choose to respond. That's what I'm getting at. That's what's the most important thing, because there are multiple ways you could have responded. Somehow something inside your head clicked and said, the way I'm going to respond is I'm angry first. But then you were able to calm down. You were able to soften that. And I think you did the most amazing thing by talking to the manager.
Normally, having to say that, if somebody does a really good job, I will call the manager of Home Depot and say, hey, this person helped me out.
I agree.
They did a great job. So I've done that.
And I love that, because
several times.
Most people don't do that.
I have never called and complained about anybody.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into the bacon. All right. So Jill, B is breathe. And we talked about this a little bit. The idea of taking a deep breath, a really deep breath when that happens. And this is, I'm going to use your store story. You're going to be so sorry you shared that. But in other words, when you look at that and the person is ignoring you and you're starting to feel something, the first thing you got to do is take that deep breath. And I think it was like the Navy SEALs or something. They said the best breathing exercise to drop stress, the absolute quickest, is the breath and a quick short breath and an exhale. Take a deep breath and then another short one. Suck it in and then blow it out slowly. And what that does is it's the first thing that actually lowers your blood pressure, drops your stress so quickly. A lot of people will do the breathing exercises of like inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold it. Right. But the quickest thing is you take a deep breath and another quick short one and let it all out. And you can feel the relaxation immediately. So when you sit here, now I'm not telling you that you should have done that. She acted like that. You should start going that whole, I'm not saying you needed to do that. But in other words, if you know, I'm not going to let anyone ruin my day. So you just take okay, and you move on forward, right? So that's the B, is take that breath, that momentary breath. And that's what's most important about it. Not only are you breathing, but you are separating yourself from the situation. You're concentrating on the breathing. Another thing I would have done there is, as she's flipping through this, I would have picked up something, held it in front of her, going, got any great ideas for a recipe I could use for this, right? In other words, engage her, break her train of thought.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the whole idea. Sometimes we're so stuck in one way, we need something to break us. Okay. So the A, that's the B for in bacon. The A is acknowledge. Notice the voices without fighting it. Right.
Okay.
So you really notice the voices, acknowledge it, and going, which one of us is talking right now? Who's in control? Is it Bert, the cowardly lion, or is it Brett Maverick, the cool guy? Who is talking right now? Right. And if you sit here going, why am I letting the cowardly lion, Bert, do all the talking? Why am I letting him run my life for even a couple of seconds? So after you breathe, you break the connection, break the concentration, and then acknowledge who is it that's talking. All right. And once you do that, you can say this. You end up talking to the cowardly lion, let's say, or the critic. All right. And they say, oh, you should get angry because you need to protect yourself. Right. You end up saying, okay, thank you for the warning. I've got it from here. Right. If if the other guy is talking, going, hey, this is great. Look at this. This is a perfect time for you to share a joke with this lady. She looks like she could use it. You might go, well, thank you for that. I don't know if she'd appreciate a joke right now. All right. But either way, what you do is acknowledge who's talking, thank them, because this is, remember, we're trying to bring them together as a partnership. We're not trying to extinguish Bert, and we're not trying to extinguish Brett. We're trying to bring them together so we have one common voice within us. We view the critic as the one who's protecting us, and the cheerleader as the one who's giving us that extra drive. All right. So acknowledge, thank them for their participation, and move on. All right. So this is where we categorize. All right. We tag it. We go further. Is this going to be helpful or harmful? The direction we're going in. All right. And actually put it right there. After we've acknowledged who's talking, we're categorizing it. Is this going to be helpful or is this harmful? All right. And what are we going to do with it next? And I know we're sitting here going, I was in the line. She's probably going to go 5260, ma'am, 5260. You're like, hold on, I'm breathing. I'm acknowledging. And now I'm categorizing. Right. Right. And before you know it, she starts getting mad at you. So you see, payback. Right. All right. So once we do that, it's the idea of the O is offset. Okay. And we end up just saying, try to find the balance between the two. Okay. I'm protected here and I want to build some, I want to keep moving. So I want you to come up with a different idea, a different subject, a thought of something that like skydiving or something that you might be a little afraid, you might be apprehensive, but there might be a voice inside you saying, go for it. Tell me something else. Come up with something, Jill, something in your past.
Like being on the radio.
Was it let me ask you, the first time you were on the radio, how did you feel? Were you nervous?
Yeah, I didn't want to be on the radio at all.
How did you get on the radio the first time?
Lou dragged me in.
Really? Okay.
Bruno, thank you very much. Dragged me in. Yeah, I used to sit in the green room.
Okay.
Out there and just be part of it. I wanted to be part of it.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be this part of it. I wanted to be over there part of it.
Nice. Yeah, that's my daughter. My sons are on the show. My daughter sits in that green room, won't come into here.
Right. Okay. John won't either. So once you realize that it's, the people make it. The people make it.
Yeah. Okay. So think of this way is get into the show. Lou says, all right, the mic is live. All right. Or we're going to go live. Breath, right? I think that's natural. Everyone takes that deep breath going, here we go.
Yeah.
Right. Then what I think is really important is, like I was talking about, when I would go on stage and I would tell Bert, hey, you weren't invited to do this. I'm going to do this without you. You stay off stage. You acknowledge which is the voice that is trying to take control. Okay. Categorize it and saying, is this going to be helpful or harmful? All right. Because if it is maybe he's warning me, maybe this is something I shouldn't do. I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, let's say, right? And there's water underneath, there's a lake. And part of me is like, jump, jump. This will be so cool, right? It's not that far. But inside, the critic is saying, but you don't know how deep the water is. You don't know what's under the water. There could be rocks under there, right? So you have to acknowledge, okay, who's talking? The critic is talking. The cheerleader is like, do it, just jump. You'll look awesome, right? So what you have to do is then you categorize it. All right, is this helpful or harmful? The fact that he's saying, maybe hold off. Okay, so maybe what I should do, climb down the cliff, go in, there's no rocks, it's like 20 feet deep, this is fine. Now I can go back up there and jump with a little bit more sanity, let's call it. Okay.
I think most worry is future based.
Yes,
So
completely.
people it's like, oh, I can't do this, and it's going to be awful. It's going to be, and really, when people do things, it's like, I tried that. That was okay.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's worry. You don't worry.
That's well, and
dive in and do it.
Well, sometimes it might make sense for us to take a look at what we're doing.
Right.
Firewalkers. Okay, have you ever done that? Would you ever try that?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Oh, but would you try it?
If I'm called in.
I think if the circumstance was right, and I saw these people, or I was like at a activity, and they were like, we got the hot coals going, and I saw other people are doing. I need someone else to do it first. I don't want to be the first one. And they go, you actually did that? I don't want to do that.
You could do that in that shirt.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be perfect. All right. So the idea is offset it, find the balance between the two. Okay. And then finally navigate. And that means make your choice. Okay. But it's so important for us to look at all of the decisions and just look at this and say, I don't want to go with my gut reaction on this. I want to think about this. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling sad? Why am I feeling scared? Why am I feeling happy? Okay. Whatever it is, acknowledge that. Take a moment to breathe, to step away, right? Acknowledge who is it that's talking. Is it my inner critic or is it my inner cheerleader? Categorize this. Is this possibly a good thing? Is it harmful or helpful? Okay. And then be able to say, all right, what's the balance? Is there a place somewhere in between? Like I said, it's the Goldilocks porridge here. And then finally, once that's done, I can now feel like I can make a good decision as opposed to an impulsive decision. That's the direction we're going into. All right. So I want you to view this. I want us to view the inner critic as quality control.
And that sounds better.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of calling it a critic, it's quality control. All right. And the cheerleader, let's view that as fuel. It's that extra push, that drive to say, you can do this. And sometimes it just makes you try things like you just said. It makes you try something that you might not have tried before, something you might not have ever thought you could do. It gives you that energy to do so, whereas the quality control on your shoulder is the one who's saying, all right, let's do this, but let's make it a little cautious. Hey, we'll go on the bike ride, but let's wear a bike helmet. Okay. It's that whole idea. It's, hey, don't show off while you're riding the bike. How about don't text while you're driving? Okay. Where the cheerleader, the fuel is going, yeah, go ahead. You got to make a phone call. Tell everyone you'll be there in a minute, right?
Right.
So you need that gentle balance between the two.
Right.
Okay. So with this, Jill, we still got some time. And I know I've covered my bacon here, which is the really quick steps, which is breathe, acknowledge, categorize, offset, and navigate. But you wrote a set of bacon too. So I would love for you to recite that.
I did.
I'm excited. Anyone who brings bacon to the studio is a good friend of mine.
I can't have be mindful of your decisions.
I like it.
A, accountability. So don't try and please everyone. And I think women generally feel like they always have to try and please everyone.
That's too bad.
Men, not so much. Not because they're not as nice. But I think they just don't have that wiring to do that. Confidence is a C. Confidence. Don't second guess yourself.
I like that. Yep.
O is own the path you're on. It's yours, not everyone else's. And N, you got nothing to lose in trying.
I like it. So what was the B again?
B is be mindful of your decisions.
Okay. So I like this a lot because as soon as I make the decision, and this ties in with all the other things you were saying, as soon as I make this decision, be sure of it and say, this is my decision. I'm the one who made the decision. And it goes back to what I'm saying is that when someone does something, My decision to get angry is my decision. So that's why we're going to take a break, be mindful and saying it wasn't their fault. They did something I don't agree with. Okay. But I've decided to be angry. I've decided to be afraid. Okay. So first take control of yourself before you can even attack or face what was happening over there. Okay.
Right.
So what was your A?
A is accountability.
Yeah. Isn't that so important? It follows right along with that. Be
Yeah, I think
accountable
so. Be accountable for your actions.
Yeah, completely. It's but see what I mean is this echoes that same thing. Be accountable for my actions. You can't say, well, she made me do that. Okay. Because I hate to say it, even when people say, oh, well, she had a gun to my head, figuratively or literally, the idea of you still have the choice. No one wants to get shot, but you still do have a choice.
I think be accountable for your mistakes too and own up.
Oh,
Own up to
100%.
them.
Right. Okay. And your C was confidence,
It's confidence. Don't second guess yourself. Once you've decided you want to do it, then go ahead and do it. And don't let people talk you out of it and say, are you sure you want to do that? Because that's that other voice.
There you go. There you
The
go.
other voice.
Right. So you acknowledge whose decision it is and be confident in when you're making the decision. But the only way to be confident is to really weigh those difference.
Right.
Be thankful that you've got that Bert and Brett in your head
Right.
who are your fuel, and saying, find that balance and say, all right, once I've done it and I've acknowledged this all, I'm ready to make my decision and I'm confident with it. Now, Jill, I got a question for you on the word confident. I think that confidence is probably the sexiest thing anyone could show. Okay. When you think about a good looking person, all right, good looking guy, good looking woman, whatever, versus an average looking person, but the average looking person has a lot of confidence.
Exactly.
There is something more attractive about confidence, right?
Definitely.
And that confidence ages better. Okay. So I think the most important thing is having that type of confidence, is being able to say, all right, I can make decisions. I'm going to take accountability. This is my decision. I'm going to move forward like that. What was your O?
O is own the path you're on.
Yeah.
It's yours, not everyone else's. So it's your life, your path. So don't try and, if you really want to do something, I obviously check with my husband. It's okay if I quit my job, I could do this, but if I'm certain that I want to do something,
right,
it's like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Try it. And if it doesn't work out, it's not meant to be.
There you go.
Doesn't mean it's wrong.
I like it. And I like how you threw in, I'm going to check with my husband first, because when you're married, all right, you have responsibilities to each other. But if you were on your own 100%, you're saying, I'm going to own my own decisions, right? Nobody's pushing me. And, I might feel I'm being pushed, but then act on it.
It's nice to get input. And sometimes it's not what I want to hear.
Right.
It's more sensible than what I wanted to do.
There you go. I like it. All right. And finally, your N?
The N is nothing to lose in trying.
Nice.
So
other than the parachuting without a parachute, there might be a little something to lose there.
Right.
Okay. All right. So Jill, as we're wrapping up the show here, what would be one of your big takeaways here?
Well, you've taught me to that I'm reacting to what people are doing, and that is my choice.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't realize it was my choice.
Right. And
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because
and you can choose to be angry or upset.
Exactly.
But if somebody upsets you, it would be nice if they said, or you could say to them, and I have done in the past, it upset me when you said this.
Perfect.
But I wait till the next day.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue about it right now, but it's like, okay.
And I like it because you used an I statement.
An I statement is better. I feel overwhelmed. I can't do this job.
Yep.
I feel like I need help, instead of you never help me and you never do it. So I try and do that.
Perfect.
I felt upset.
Because again, when you said you did this to me, you don't know what they did. It's the way you interpreted it. So by saying, I got upset, I felt scared, I felt angry when you said this or when you did this. But
sometimes they have no idea they upset you.
And they're like, I had no,
And I'm upset with you, but they have no idea they're upset me. So it's like, they're not hurting.
Yeah, you never know. Or you might find out, oh my God, their problems are worse than yours, right?
Right.
Okay. So with that, I just have one last really quick announcement before we end the show today. This coming Saturday, July 25th, we have an event in Long Grove called Dunka Joe.
Oh.
All right. Dunka Joe. And so far there are 4 Joes who have volunteered. They're going to be in a dunk tank. I I can't even name all of them, but I know like Joe Turner is from Renovation One. There's a new guy who had just joined, Joe Janicki, who's been on the show here
Yes.
for Brightway
He's
Insurance.
excellent.
Yes, yes, he is. And then
Yes.
there is Joe Mangus, who has also been on the show. He is in Wakanda, a great attorney, Joe Mangus with Mangus and Associates, or Mangus Attorney at Law. Anyway, what they're doing is they volunteering their times. It's at Buffalo Creek Brewing in Long Grove.
Okay.
And you pay so much, I don't know what the cost is per throw, from 2 to 6. And all the money goes to the Veterans Path of Hope,
Nice.
which is an incredible organization helping veterans get the help that they need. Right.
Okay.
And so anytime I can help with them. And so, of course, my name's not Joe, so I'm not in the tank. I get to MC the event. All right. So I'm an
You
MC.
won't be nervous.
No, exactly. That'll be easy. I just got to get those people to show up, throw some balls, and dunk some Joes.
Dunk a
right?
lawyer. How about that?
Dunk a lawyer. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is if there's any other Joes out there, any other Joes
Right.
who we still have room up there. We would love another couple
Dunk
of
a
Joes.
Joe. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So do you know any Joes, Joe?
I do, but they're in
No,
Arizona.
somebody local.
Yeah, local.
There's no radio personality here named Joe, is there?
I think so.
I don't think so either. Yeah, at first I thought, oh, I know a whole bunch of Joes, and I was like, no, I really don't. But so it's going to be July 25th, this coming Saturday, Buffalo Creek Brewing in Long Grove, right? Great place. It's called Dunkin' Joe. You're going to come there, just have some fun. There'll be food trucks. There will be delicious beer and other beverages there. But most importantly, we're going to be raising money for the Veterans Path of Hope, which is another cause. I'm not a veteran, but it's a cause that's near and dear to my heart. They're absolutely wonderful people, and I'm going to get one of those people to be here on our show coming up in the near future.
Nice.
Okay, so Jill, thank you very much. I'm going to thank not only you, Jill, but I'm going to thank all the voices in your head.
My names.
Yeah,
I have my names.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, what are your
names?
names? What are those names? What are the names of those?
My cheerleader is Catherine because I like Catherine Hepburn and she's very strong. I would love her.
Okay.
And my negative is evil twin Skippy.
So it's Skippy and Cat.
Evil twin Skippy.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. All right. So what you got to do from now on, when the next time you go in person just disses you, turns to you and doesn't acknowledge you.
Catherine, what would you do?
Exactly.
Right.
That's what you end up doing. And so before you know it, you're going to start saying the only voice I hear is the critic. The only voice I hear is the negative one. And when you hear that, the reason is because you have aligned yourself with Catherine so much that you don't hear her voice because that is your voice.
I should have bought her an extra candy bar and given it to her on the way out.
That's true. That's true. All right. Thank you all so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM The Life. You've been listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. Any of what you heard sounds great to you. Tune in for the rest of the show anywhere you listen to podcasts later in the week and listen to our past episodes. I've got almost 5 years of episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So there's some great episodes and some questionable episodes. Okay. But anytime you hear Jill's voice in the background, it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Well, thank you for the invite. It's fun.
Definitely. And thank you guys all so very much. Let's see if we can come up with a way to sign out properly here. Let's just do this and we are good. Thank you again and bye-bye, everybody.